Hey guys, it's me. If you're new here, my name is Alanna and I'm a Canadian, but I live here in the UK, and if you're not new here, hey, you might know that for the last 9 years that I've lived in the UK, I have been on visas, which basically means I have to reapply, repay, and reprove my case every 2.5 years just to live in the UK. I have fought to live here for the last 9 years, and it certainly has not been easy, but the next battle is upon us, and that is indefinite leave to remain. It's a really weird way of saying I get permission to stay in the UK indefinitely, although the government can take it away from you, so maybe indefinite is not the best word, but it is the next step in this sort of like visa process where you go from visas, reapplying every sort of 2.5 years, indefinite leave to remain, and then citizenship. So it's kind of like on the path to citizenship, but we're not there yet. And before the comments come in, I already know I'm gonna get two major ones. One, you're not a foreigner, don't call yourself a foreigner in the UK. That's very sweet. I am. And in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the Home Office, I am very much a foreigner, and I have to follow the rules just like everybody else. So I have been doing the visa process as required for the last 9 years, and it's only now that I'm eligible for this indefinite leave to remain. Now, question number 2, or comment number 2 that I know I'm gonna get, why won't you just get citizenship? I'm not allowed. That's the short answer. I am now allowed for indefinite leave to remain, so that's the step prior, and then we can do citizenship afterwards. Now, over the last 9 years, I have done so many visas, so many visa applications, so many biometric residence permit applications, a lot. I've done it a lot. But something that's different about this indefinite leave to remain application is I have to pass what's called Life in the UK test. And mine is this week. And I'm gonna pass out. If I don't pass my test this week, I have to rebook, repay. I had to book like 3 months in advance because it's so busy, or they have like so few testing opportunities, I don't know. But I'll have to rebook it again, repay for it, retake the test, because I cannot apply for this visa without passing this test first. So there's a lot hanging on these 24 exam questions that I have to do this week. So after studying for the last couple of months, I would say there are sort of 3 categories of questions in this exam. And the first category are the gimmies. So these are questions that are very obvious, that I hope I have a lot of them come my actual test. But questions like, when is Christmas? What is Boxing Day? When is Halloween? What is a bank holiday? So these are questions that I feel very confident in. How many gimmies will I get on my test? I wish I knew, but they're questions that I already knew or I've learned since living in the UK. Like in Canada, we don't have bank holidays, we don't call them that, but I've lived in the UK for 9 years. I know what a bank holiday is. So after the gimme questions, the next category we have are ones that are a little bit more difficult, but I still think are doable as long as I take my time. So these are questions like, who started the Church of England? Where and what is Stonehenge? Who built the Tower of London? So these are questions that I've either since learned and they're easy to remember, or do you guys know the movie, God, what was it called? Slumdog Millionaire, where he knows all of the answers to the questions from personal experiences. So for me, I have a lot of personal experiences now that can answer some of these questions. So like, who built the Tower of London? I have a vlog at the Tower of London where I learned about the history. So there's certain things that I've done over the last 9 years that have like taught me the answers to these questions. And then of course, the dreaded final category, questions that I will only ever know the answer if I study and I memorize them. So for instance, and of course these are all gonna be different, like you might find these all super easy, in which case, love that for you. They're not for me. So for instance, who is Roger Bannister? Who invented the jet engine? How many people sit on a jury in Northern Ireland? It's 12, by the way. How many people sit on a jury in Scotland? 15. Love that. Which king was executed in 1649? What is the name of the court that deals with civil matters in Scotland. True or false? Wales uses a system called individual registration. It's false, by the way. Only Northern Ireland uses individual registration. So first off, my studying comes from this. The Life in the UK Test Handbook. The bane of my existence. Now when you look at it, that is really short. You're thinking, okay, Alanna, like, grow up. That's not a lot of material to memorize or to study. But I think what's difficult about this is it is so brief. The UK has such a long and complex and dense history, and to whittle it down into that, and this includes a glossary. So for instance, World War II, obviously a huge part in British history, pretty sure it is 2 pages. That's it. But it also covers like, okay, so one of the earliest questions that I can remember, when did the UK landmass separate from the land bridge that connects it with like mainland Europe? About 10,000 years ago. That's kind of where we start, 10,000 years ago. One of the more recent questions, what kind of government was formed in 2010? A coalition government. Who was that with? The Conservatives and the Lib Dems. Yes, that is something that you have to know. So we have to cover a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of this is just memorization. It doesn't really explain maybe the context or goes into depth at all. It's just kind of like, yeah, World War I started because of this in this year, and it ended in this year because of, you know, like, it's just so brief because we have a lot to cover. So it is September. My test is this Thursday. It's gonna be part of this video, so if you want to skip ahead and find out my result, I hope it's good. But I started studying probably about July, early July, maybe late June. Of course, first reading this, because this is like, you have to start with this. This is where the exam questions come from. But then I've also been doing practice tests on Twitch. So spoiler alert, I don't know if you're aware, but I live stream on Twitch every Wednesday night and every Sunday night for the last like 6 years. And as part of our little streaming routine since June, July, every stream I do a practice exam. I've never been like a crammer for tests and exams, like even in high school, even in college, like I've never crammed for an exam. The night before an exam, I'm not studying. I'm relaxing, I'm reading a book, I'm going to bed early. Like, I just do not cram. Whatever I've learned, cramming the night before is not going to change it. Do you know what I mean? And so studying for this exam has been no different. It's just been like piece by piece. I read the handbook. I've been doing the practice exams. There's also a app, like an official paid, of course you got to pay for it, app, where I've been doing flashcards. And it's just kind of like doing bits and pieces here and there, just over time. If you are watching this and you happen to be foreign, hi, how's it going? Maybe you're watching this because as part of your visa journey, you're gonna have to do the Life in the UK test. I have another channel called Introverted Expat where I'm gonna do a video like really in depth on this entire process, what exactly I studied, how I studied, my tips, tricks, how to book the exam, all that fun stuff. That's gonna be on Introverted Expat. That's gonna be very like a how-to video. So just on the off chance that we have non-British people seeing this, hi, hope you're doing well. You can check out my other channel for like the more in-depth kind of advice stuff. I think what's tough right now is I've gotten to the point where I've sort of memorized the flashcards and I've memorized some of the practice exams. But of course, the questions that I'm doing are not the actual questions. So I'm a little bit worried that when I go into London, I'm going into London for the test. I don't know if I already said that. I have to go into London. My test is about a 20-minute walk from Stratford International. So we're doing that this week. I'm a little bit worried that I've memorized the questions, but I haven't necessarily like learned it, if that makes sense. And I don't know what the makeup of the questions are gonna be. Is it gonna be like 10 questions about the kings and queens, 10 questions about like law and that kind of stuff, and then the rest are just gonna be like randoms? I don't know. The questions that I really get tripped up on are the kings and queens. I get confused. Like Charles I was executed. Charles II is the one that hid in an oak tree. Henry VIII is kind of easy because he's done a lot, but all of the other ones are kind of like a mess in my mind. The other questions that I stumble on are anything to do with sports. So like you have to know who Bobby Moore is. He's the football captain of the English team that won the World Cup in like the 60s. Why do I have to know that? Doesn't matter, I know it now. Unless what I've just said is wrong, in which case I don't know it. So anything about sports, there's a lot of like football, cricket, there's a lot of Olympics questions, like who won which medal in which year, which are like who are famous para athletes and stuff. Like the Olympic stuff I'm gonna struggle with. And finally, I would say the inventors. There's lots of questions about inventors, also like British authors, Scottish painters, philosophers from the Enlightenment. Like there's a lot. Anyway, before I freak myself out, I thought it might be fun before we go do our test this week to do a practice test with you guys to kind of show you some of the questions, what the sort of vibe is, and hopefully I do well. If I do really bad at the practice exam that we're just about to do, I will cry. Anyway, let's go do that. My butt's going numb. Hey guys, before we do the practice exam, I got a little something I want to show you. This is my desk. This is where I work from. I work at home. I spend an obscene amount of time at this desk. And the sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot, reached out and was like, let us help you. And I'm like, hell yeah. I've been using their C7 chair. Look at that. This is my first ever ergonomic, fully adjustable chair, and I love it. The design is very deliberate. It has independent lumbar support to help you with your lower back, and there's like a slight like forward tilt to help my posture. And Lord knows I need help with my posture. And it is fully adjustable. Everything from the armrests, the angle, the height, the depth. The headrest is adjustable. The back is adjustable depending on how much of a recline you want. And this is kind of gross, but I'm gonna say it anyway. In the summertime here in England when I'm working, the amount of sweat is unbelievable. But with this, with the mesh bottom, it's so like airy that you don't get sweaty. Maybe that's just a me problem, but it's fabulous. The C7 chair also comes with a 60-day return policy and a 5-year warranty for replacement parts. Incredible. Now the chair is very cool. I've never had a chair like this before, but we need to talk about the desk. Welcome to under my desk. I don't think I've ever showed anyone under my desk before. Hello, welcome. I actually bought my own FlexiSpot standing desk, premium series E7 legs. These legs like 2 years ago, and I love them. I walk on my treadmill under my desk, like in a standing position, multiple times a week, so I can get some movement in while I'm still getting my work done. At first I thought I wouldn't get enough out of it, but honestly, after the last 2 years, this has been one of the best purchases I've ever made. And FlexiSpot sent us their E7 Plus standing desk that we're about to set up for my partner. The E7 Plus standing desk comes with 4 legs that are super sturdy, minimizes wobbling, and keeps everything really secure. The desk can even reach a maximum load capacity of 200 kilograms. There's a digital keyboard that lets you set up to 4 memory height presets, so I can switch between like the standing height that I want and the sitting height with literally just a press of a button. And the desk can go as high as 131 centimeters depending on how high you want it. And the E7 Plus standing desk, would you guess it, has a 10-year warranty. Crazy. We are definitely a FlexiSpot family now, but if you want to try it out for yourself, make sure to check out my link in the description. Hey guys, and welcome to my desk. This is where we are going to do a practice test. I am already sweating through my clothes. It's fine. I'm gonna do fine. I'm definitely not gonna be deported. So I've been doing some of the mock tests from Life in the UK test web. They've got a bunch of different exams. I picked a random one. This is test 10 to kind of show you guys what it's like. There are 24 questions and you do get 45 minutes, of which I will not need that much time. I either know it or I don't know it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, if you want to play along, keep a record of your score and maybe leave a comment down below how you did. Whether you passed or not, or whether you're gonna get deported. And some of these are definitely easier than others. Like some of the exams are easier than others. Anyway, let's start off. Who is the patron saint of England? England is St. George. St. Patrick is Ireland. St. David is Wales. St. Andrew is Scotland. Oh, thank God. Where is Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park located? Thankfully, it doesn't ask where in Scotland because I would not be able to answer that, but I do know it's Scotland. Thank God. West of Scotland. Write that down, everybody. Wales has its own established church. This is not true, but Scotland and Northern Ireland do. They also have their own banknotes, but Wales doesn't. That's irrelevant. Oh, there's no established church in Wales or Northern Ireland. Maybe the confidence is not warranted. Northern Ireland definitely has its own banknotes. Same with Scotland. Scotland has its own church. I thought Northern Ireland had its own church, but let's just hope we don't get that question. What stories are associated with Chaucer? That is Canterbury Tales. Also, did you know it's a collection of poems? That came up on one of our practice exams on Twitch. A lot of people were surprised that it's not a story. It is poems. And there was a question about what type of literature the Canterbury Tales are, and yeah, it's poems. Spoiler alert. Yay, I love these gimmies. When is Boxing Day? That is the 26th of December. What is the name of the holiday when banks and many other businesses are closed? That is a bank holiday. We can only hope for enough gimmies. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to get a perfect test. You don't have to get all of them right. I want to say you can get 4 wrong. We'll have to double check. Why were women given the right to vote? Women were given the right to vote in 1918, over the age of 30, in recognition for their effort during the First World War. 10 years later, in 1928, women were given the right to vote at like the same age as men. But at this point, it was only like over 30 and as part as the war effort. Yes! That's up here forever now. What do you need to drive in the UK? You need a valid driving license. Yay! Where does the Fringe Festival take place? That is Edinburgh. This is a Slumdog Millionaire question because I've been to the Fringe and it was wonderful. Okay, here is a question that is pure memorization and I've already forgotten it. How many members does the Welsh government have? Gut reaction is 90. I don't know why I'm feeling 90, but this is a total punt. These are some of the questions that I just hope I don't get. 60. Welsh government, 60. Welsh, less than you think. Remember that, Alanna. Less than you think. Gut reaction, 90? No, less than you think. The names or photographs of young people found guilty of a crime can be published in newspapers or used by the media. That is false. What was Edward Algar famous for? This is another punt. I don't recognize that name. I don't think tennis player, and I don't think comedian. Gut reaction says musician. He's known for March number 1, usually played last night of the proms, Royal Albert Hall. Okay, sure. I'll take your word for it. Which of the following is not a British banknote? That would be 25. God, can you imagine if I get that one wrong? Where does the Scottish Grand National take place? I don't know this one. St. Andrews is the Gulf. But Grand National is horse? Okay, now I'm getting nervous. What if I fail? Oh my God. What if I fail because I don't know where the Scottish Grand National takes place? I've been to Edinburgh. Is there a track? If I do think this is horses, is there a track in Edinburgh? Not that I remember, but Edinburgh is like a pretty big place. If we assume St. Andrews takes the golf, maybe we just pick a random. Let's just do Edinburgh. It's not. Scottish Grand National takes place at Ayr. Ayr? How do we remember that? We just don't. Hope we don't get that one. The laws passed after the Glorious Revolution marked the beginning of a constitutional monarchy. Thank God. During the reign of Elizabeth I, a large fleet of ships was sent to England to conquer, restore. Where did they come from? Elizabeth I, that was Spain? Spanish Armada. Yes, thank you. What did the Habeas Corpus Act introduce that every prisoner has a right to a court hearing? Pretty happy with that one. This is another gimme, thank God. Parkhurst was the right for women to vote. This is kind of like a Slumdog Millionaire. I went to Manchester this year, saw her like statue and stuff. That's up here now, thank God. What is the proms? It is summer session, daily classical music. Thank you. Isaac Newton is gravity. When did World War I come to an end? 1918. Thank you. Who built a wall in the north of England to keep out the Picts? This was Hadrian and Hadrian's Wall. Haven't been, but I'd love to go. Which two universities participate in an annual rowing race? That is Oxford and Cambridge. Also never been, but would love to go. And finally, does Britain have a written constitution? This surprised me because I just assumed yes. But no, there's no written document. Fascinating. Anyway, I passed. Yay. That's actually a pretty good representation of a lot of these practice exams. It's like modern day sort of like bank holidays, the proms, rowing races, like modern stuff. Then there's like stuff about the kings and queens and history. Then there's stuff about like law and MPs and that kind of stuff. And then there's like random stuff that I just have such a hard time memorizing. But you don't have to get 100%. Thank God. So actually, the minimum correct answers is 18. For some reason, I thought it was 20. But we can get a maximum of 6 questions wrong. That's way more than I thought. I will be fine. It doesn't matter like what percentage you get past. You just need to either pass or fail. If I fail, I will have to book it again as quickly as possible, study again, pay for it again, go back to London again and do it again before I can apply for my visa. So it's doable. It's not ideal, but it's doable. Anyway, I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to keep studying and then I will see you guys when we go to London to do my tests. Fingers crossed, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's time. I may throw up, cry, or pass out. Or maybe all 3. I'm nervous about getting there on time. I have a real thing about like time anxiety for some reason. I'm nervous about being rejected because they can reject you from sitting the test if you haven't like proven your identity properly. I'm afraid of failing the test. But really at this point, there's nothing I can do, and worrying about it isn't gonna change it. So it looks absolutely horrible out. It's been raining off and on the last like 48 hours. So I need to dig out my umbrella. Normally I don't bother with an umbrella anymore. I just wear a hat, but it has been like torrential. And the way the trains work, I'm gonna end up getting to the like testing center like 40 minutes early, which is a bit of a pain. It was either 10 minutes early or 40 minutes early. And I was like, if anything is delayed, if anything is late, if I get lost, if you are late, they will not let you in. So I've opted for the 40 minutes late. We go through, I wanna say like Westfield, the mall thing at Stratford International. So I thought I'd have a wander through. Can you hear the bin men outside? Don't they know I'm trying to do something? I'm gonna get there early. I thought I might grab a drink from the mall since I think I have to walk through it, get a drink, everything's fine. I can walk slowly. I'll get to the center early no matter what. Some people online say they let you in early and like you could do it early. Some people say they won't let you in until like 5 minutes before. Again, there's no way to know until we do it. I think more than anything, it'll be a huge relief when this is done. Obviously, I'm nervous about this whole process and the tests and passing the test, but the greater anxiety is this is a big deal for my visa. The visa is a big deal, right? And there's a lot of anxiety there to allow me to stay in the UK. So I think I'm just more nervous because of that stuff in the background, but right now it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. My train is booked. I've charged my phone. I've got a couple of podcasts. We're gonna go into London, we're gonna get rained on, we're gonna do this test, and it's gonna be such a relief. And then I'm gonna go to the mall on my way home and I'm gonna get myself a soft pretzel as a little treat. All right, that's it, it's time to go. Let's do it. Hey guys, we are here in London. I have just done my test. I have sweat through all of my clothing. I've come across the street and guess what? I passed. All of that build up for literally 30 minutes and I've already got my result. If you're watching this and you're a foreigner, I'm definitely going to do an in-depth video of like what the questions, like specific questions were asked. When I came outside, I immediately turned my phone on and verbally dictated as many questions as I could remember. So I'm gonna do a big video on that of exactly how I studied, what it was really like. But for the sake of this video, I passed. I am so relieved. I ended up getting here about 30 minutes before my test. And I figured in the email, they tell you arrive 30 minutes early. So I thought, okay, I'll go inside. They were letting people in for the 2 o'clock slot, which was what my test was. So went in, 1:30, came out 2 o'clock and got my result at 2:01. It goes without saying I am really relieved and I'm gonna sleep so well tonight. But it ended up being such a nice day. I don't know if you can see the sky. It is blue, if that doesn't come through. And it is so loud here. So I am going to take a second and absorb all that's happened. I don't think it's sunk in yet that this part of this visa process is done. So much buildup for literally, I was in the test for about 5 minutes and that was me reading the question like 3 times as slow as I possibly could. But I'm gonna go back to Westfield and I'm gonna go shopping. I haven't been to a mall in forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for all your support and your kind words and your encouragement. It has been such a relief to be done with this. Also, thank you so much to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check them out in the video description. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching and until next time, bye.